Welcome! Today we're going to be making some scratch freezer meals with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Most of these are new to us recipes, so they are experiments, so we can find out together whether or not this is a good idea.
I have a good feeling about them, even though they're experiments. They're, areas we have maybe dabbled before. So, like, the first recipe is biscuits and baking powder biscuits. I've made them my whole life. I feel pretty comfortable. I'm excited about this recipe though because I have never made freezer biscuits, and I bet you neither of you. So let's try them.
I have never, I don't think, made baking powder biscuits in my life. I know they're not that complicated, but I'm not much of a baker and I didn't grow up baking. But you have like expertise in this area.
I do. My grandma's grandma.
Okay.
This is her. Isn't her recipe, but this, my great grandmother, they came to northern Alberta in 1914. They came from the Ozarks in Missouri and brought their biscuit recipe with them, I suppose. And it has bacon drippings in it, and it has butter. And my auntie, I remember specifically of a very vivid recall memory of sitting in her kitchen playing cards and at the kitchen table, and she could get up between hands and go and make them, and sometimes she would make them even right in the flour bin. She knew she had made them so often she could do it with her eyes closed, and she just knew by feel, oh, this is done. And and honestly, we said that as legend for years.
Right.
She's 90 now, 92 maybe, and we said this as legend for years, and we always joked about it. In reality, she probably looked in her flour bed and said, oh, that's probably the perfect amount to make my biscuits.
It was probably the one
time she ever did it, but ever since then she was legend. My auntie could make them in the flour bed between hands of crib, and it's kind of true but kind of a stretch, and that's how legends are born. But these are legendary biscuits. These ones are freezer biscuits. They're a little bit different. I'm sorry there's no bacon drippings in them. If you wanted to add them, I don't see why you couldn't. It would be totally fine, but we're going to get right into these. So in our bowl we have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to add in a teaspoon of salt.
And I'm just going to watch, just like you guys. I'm here for the lesson.
Totally fine. And a tablespoon of sugar. And, oh, I forgot to take it out. 4 teaspoons of baking powder.
Okay, I grabbed that for you.
Thank you.
And at least I feel like I served some purpose during this biscuit demonstration.
Having a biscuit demonstration today. 1, 2, does anybody else have to count out loud because you forget where you are? 3, 4, even if it's only 4 scoops? I started doing that out loud when my daughter was a baby, and she had bottles in the middle of the night, and I had to put 6 scoops in, but then I'm bleary-eyed and I'm like, I don't know if I did 3 or 4. And so I would count out loud. And so now I do it when I make coffee, whatever. It's not a bad thing. All right, I didn't go to the trouble of sifting this. It doesn't say you have to. You're going to pour in heavy cream and stir until a sticky ball forms. So it's 1 cup of whipping cream, and I will stir. What do I want to use to stir? If I was at home, I would use a wooden spoon. I think here I'm going to use a spatula because I'm going to scrape the sides at the end anyway.
I have been thinking about doing this freezer biscuit recipe for a long time, and then decided that today was the perfect day because we were going to be making some soups later on, and I just thought, if you've got biscuits in the freezer that are ready to bake up fresh, and then you've got, you wait until you see these soups that we've got coming. If you've got that, like, this would be the perfect lunch or dinner. This is thrilling.
This is thrilling. I will tell you right now, if you wanted to put chives in this, now would be the stage to do it. Or if you wanted to chop up cheddar cheese and put it in, now would be the stage to do it.
See, she is the baking powder biscuit expert.
Legendary. Pretty soon, the legend will be about me. My mom used to teach people how to make biscuits on YouTube.
Except it'll be 100% true.
It will be. Now, it's supposed to form a ball. Now, if this was my recipe, it would say you mix until it looks like loose oatmeal.
Okay.
Like so that it's crumbly. So, because here they say until a sticky ball of dough forms. This isn't very sticky. I'm at the point where I'm going to have to put my hands in here and just see if I can get this to stick together. Because
Okay, it says you have to turn it onto a floured surface. Do you want me to create you a floured surface?
not yet. That's okay.
Okay.
We'll move my coffee out of the way because I will need that. So I'm just going to squish it together and see how it goes. But I might need, maybe I was too fast putting that milk away because I think this is too dry. In my professional biscuit making opinion.
Cream.
I think I'm going to need more cream.
I can fetch cream.
Please fetch me the cream. I put it in the other fridge because that's where it came from. At this stage, honestly, you don't want to add too much. I'm going to literally add a tablespoon at a time until I'm happy with it. Do you know what I mean?
Now, we're not doubling the recipe. Normally, obviously, we double, quadruple, quintuple, whatever our recipes. But because this is our very first time making baking powder biscuits for the freezer specifically, and our first time using this recipe rather than Christy's tried and true recipe, we're just gonna make the one and see how it goes. We're gonna make sure that we get it, frozen fully before we try to bake it and follow the instructions, just to make sure. And then if it's awesome, this will be something we just make again and again, but next time we'll probably quadruple it. And then Christy's family will take half and our family will take half, and we will be, set for biscuits for, well, you for a while, us for a weekend. I don't know. This past, week or two, one of our sons has been home more than usual, and I'm just...
He's eating you out of house and home?
Oh, like young adult boys, not all of them, I don't want to generalize, but this particular one, well, actually two of ours, can eat. Oh my word, can they eat? And
this is
more food.
This is much more crumbly than I expected, but it does say to knead it. And because I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe if I knead it, I can get some of that worked in better, but
I'm thinking we're gonna have to add more cream.
Yeah. See, I would have made this with butter, which is really just cream that's been whipped to death. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Let's do it.
All right, 3. See, aren't you glad that we test these things out for you before you do them? Because
then
someday
you don't have to make nearly as much mess on your counter as we made on mine.
You might think, oh, I have those biscuits in my freezer and I know that they're going to be perfect because Charlotte and Christy did it on camera.
And put it through its paces.
Yep. So normally, like this is one of those recipes where, oh, thank you. You don't really want to overwork it, right? The more you work bread doughs and stuff, a lot of times they just get more and more solid. No, that's wrong. Cakes and stuff, quick breads. Mm-hmm. And so I think, and this is considered a quick bread because it's not a yeast product. And so like if you're making muffins, it says like mix it until it's just mixed.
Right, you don't want to overmix, yeah.
So this is kind of the case of that. I wouldn't...
There's a little piece there.
Oh, thank you. I don't want to overmix this, but I'm kind of having to just because it was dry. So I'm getting more I'm feeling better about this. And so knead gently for 2 to 3 minutes. I'll keep going.
It says knead just 2 to 3 times.
Oh, sorry. Just until the dough feels mixed and has enough flour that it is no longer sticky. My dear, it was never sticky. I had to go the other way.
It's interesting.
Now, I didn't weigh my flour.
Right.
If you wait, but I did it the proper way. You didn't see me do it, but I scooped it into the cup and I leveled it off. You're more consistent when you weigh your flour. Europeans do it that way. A lot more, I know people that are starting to do it that way. Okay, I feel better about this. Avoid overworking the dough. Well, I tried. Gently pat the dough down into a 6x8 rectangle and then fold it in half. So I'm saying that's about...
I'm so glad you're doing this and not me. It involves math.
I know. So I will press it down like that. Is that 8? That's 6x8. And then fold it in half. and then do it again. See, here's the thing. It's not made with butter. We have a carrot soup coming up, and the timer for that just went off because we're roasting our carrots first to get them all caramelized and extra and awesome. So
I'm gonna go grab, or I'm gonna check them.
Check them and do the things. So once this is done, it's 6 by 8 inches. It is only supposed to be folded in half a couple of times, and what that will do is the extra layers that you create will help give it that springiness. And so I'm hoping that the whipping cream here will act the same as the butter. The butter will that's why croissants are light and fluffy, because they're folded a million times and then they go, right? Puff pastry. So you get the idea. This is like a crude version of puff pastry, really. And so it says to cut these into 12 squares. So these I think are going to be small. It's probably not a true 6 inches. I didn't like measure these, but here. But it's supposed to be an inch thick. Yeah, maybe I'll do it right on the cutting board. I don't want to mess up your
beautiful new counter.
Your beautiful counters. All right. So that's 3 across. Watch me math. And 4 down.
I think that'll be great.
I think that will work.
So it should have occurred to me before we filmed this video, but I think what we should have done is make a batch of these, which I found on the internet. Let me see where. Budget Bites is the website I found these from, and I will
BYTES. Just.
Oh yes, thank you for.
Which but it's also like Budget Bites.
Right.
The 90s kid in me just came out.
BYTS, yes. I will put the link in the description below to these, but now as I'm watching you make these and as you're talking about your recipe and stuff, I think what we should have done is made a batch of these and then a batch of your recipe
and
raw.
Yeah, to compare.
And frozen them and seen if they would freeze and cook up later.
Totally.
And then we could have compared them. So, another video.
And maybe we could do this, I could do this at home too and compare and just video the results and we could get back to you. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. They're not super consistent.
I would love to see how yours freeze because it is your recipe. It would be better for us to use that.
Yeah.
And I would.
What's my Auntie Doris's? I would get her permission first, and I'm sure she's going to say yes.
So we're going to actually freeze these on this cutting board with parchment paper on them because then we're not dirtying another cookie sheet or whatever to get them flat in the freezer. When these are frozen, we are going to transfer them into a freezer bag. We're gonna get the air out so that we don't get freezer burn in there, and we're gonna refreeze them. When you go to make these, it says that you just thaw them for as long as it takes your oven to heat up, so you're almost cooking them from frozen.
Ooh, carrots.
And you're gonna bake these for, well, 16 to 22 minutes, depending if they're frozen or fresh. And then we'll just leave the link for you in the description because we haven't done these before. So if you want to experiment along with us, go ahead. In a future video, we'll tell you how it went and we'll have definitive instructions for you, or we'll tell you to make Christie's.
We'll give you my recipe. And I'm sure, I don't think that's going to be long enough, only because it says 16 to 20 minutes if they're fresh, 18 to 22 minutes if they're frozen. Mine take 22 minutes and they're fresh. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited about these though, because I do love a good baking powder biscuit.
Now, to go along with our baking powder biscuits, we are making some soups. The first one is, we'll tell you about it in a second. But first, I'm going to tell you what we've done so far for it. So this is a roasted carrot orange brie soup. I'm so excited. But what we've done so far for it is that we roasted our carrots that are peeled and cut into 3-inch chunks in the oven at 400 degrees, tossed them in some olive oil and salt before we roasted them. Then when the timer went off for that, we added some onion and fresh garlic, like full cloves of garlic, some more olive oil and salt, and we put them back in, and the timer has just gone off again, so I'm going to fetch that and then we can make that soup. Okay, before we go over to my stovetop and start making this soup with those carrots and onions and garlic that smell so good.
Today would be a great day for smell-o-vision.
Seriously, we're gonna tell you how this soup came about. Over to you.
I learned how to crochet this year. In January, I decided, not as a resolution, but just in January, I'm like, I've always wanted to crochet. I would like to put my phone down and I would like to do more things with my hands. And so I learned how to crochet thanks to YouTube, but also I went to a class and I go to a weekly, all the ladies, some men come too, we get together and we crochet and we visit. But before, I think, this was even before I learned to crochet because this was last fall. I just wanted to meet people. I just wanted to do something social. So it's not a delicate term, but they call it a stitchin' bitch. Where you go, and it's almost always women, but you sit and you visit and you work on your needlecraft or your crochet or your knitting or your cross stitch. And so I learned how to embroider years and years ago when I was a little kid. And so I thought, I'm gonna make something for my daughter. And I was working on a little floral scene of some potted plants. And it was from a kit. It came with all the things I needed. And I found this group to go to, and it was at a restaurant in our town. I wasn't particularly hungry, but I didn't feel right about just going and sitting and drinking coffee and
Using the table.
being there for 3 hours. So I ordered soup. And it was a carrot, brie, and orange soup. And I texted Charlotte immediately. I sent her pictures of it. I went and asked, because it was so good. I went and asked, I'm like, do you think I could have the recipe for this? And they said no. And I'm like, Charlotte, we'll have to just figure this out because we need this soup in our lives on a more regular basis. And so the rest of the story is...
So I thought, like I saved the idea, as I saved lots of ideas, and thought this would be a great soup for fall, like we'll do it next year, but...
And I'm not the deconstructor. Like,
No.
I have a hard time working a recipe backwards to figure it out.
I hadn't tasted it, so it's tough for me to deconstruct something that I haven't tasted. But I figured it'll be no problem. I'll do a Google search, probably like 10 or 15 recipes for carrot orange brie soup will pop up, and I can just sort of look at them and take what I like from this one and what I like from this one and kind of go from there, and it'll be no problem. But it was a problem because this is not a popular thing. Apparently not a lot of people are making roasted carrot orange brie soup. So I took our roasted carrot soup, which is in the club on our website, freezermeals101.com. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
The flavors are just so great. I took the ideas from that because you do roast your carrots, but that one, you just add everything into the freezer bag and then you make it, like on the day you're gonna go to serve it, you dump your bag contents into your pot and you make it. Whereas this one, I knew because of the brie, because of the immersion blender portion of it, like just because of all the things, we were gonna have to cook this and then freeze it. And so that's a totally different thing. But I was like, okay, but at least I can figure out, the roasting of the carrots. We've got that down pat.
Yes.
So then I kind of took to like, okay, do I want ginger in there? Because, carrot and ginger taste really good. No, I'll invent a different soup with carrot and ginger. Like, so I kind of have been, so I've been working on this for like 2 weeks. But I have it, and it sounds like it's going to be amazing. We are going to cook this right up, and then when it's cooled, we're gonna portion it into super cubes so that we've got 1 cup servings so that Christy and I can pull these out for lunches. She can take some home with her. Once they're frozen, we can transfer them into freezer bags, and we can each, now, also, we're gonna just be upfront and say, we're gonna try this today for our lunch.
Are.
Like
we're excited about this soup. I've been waiting almost a whole year for this soup. I'm pretty excited.
And there is another restaurant. It's actually in a town called Invermere, BC, which is not around the corner from us. But Christy and I were there last year. I go there fairly often, but Christy and I were there together last year, and there is a place there called the Stolen Church Cafe that makes homemade soups. They're always different. They're always fresh.
good.
They're
Oh,
so
my goodness.
good. And they usually have 3 or 4 a day. And I have tried very few of them because I don't go often, but Christy and I tried 2 of them, I think, when we were there.
Yeah, what? I don't remember what we had now, do you?
One of them was like an apple squash rosemary or something like that. And
Which is funny because I have baby food that is butternut squash, pears, and rosemary. And I have totally, instead of pureeing it, I have roasted it and just made it for our family to eat because it's so good.
so good. Those
Baby food.
flavors are so good.
Yeah.
And so actually every time I go, I take a picture of the sign. And even though it doesn't tell me what is in it,
It's inspiration.
it's just inspiration for me to create these soups in the future. So in the next few months, we're going to be creating a lot of soups from these, this inspiration.
Hey, we're getting into fall and into winter. It's great to have soup on hand. We do love the super cubes because they are portioned out. You can use other things besides super cubes to achieve that, but they just look so darn cute and they're like little bricks of soup.
Yes, and there is a link for the super cubes below, and they also, I think you can find them in our Amazon store. The link for that is below. So they are great for portioning out like chilies, stews, soups, all of that.
Yes, you bet.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do, and we're gonna show you. So we've got our carrots peeled, roughly chopped, that we have roasted along with our onion and olive oil, salt, and garlic. Then we're going to dump all of that into a large pot. Now we have doubled this today because we do really want to try it out both today and be able to freeze it and try it that way. Then we're gonna add some chicken broth and some thyme. Now I have to tell you that Christy has an amazing garden. And we took Christy took a field trip to her garden this morning.
I did. I brought some thyme. What else do I have over there? Some chives and some fresh dill. I had grown basil this year, and earlier in the season it was good, but basil is such a wussy plant. Like, you just look at it wrong and it's like, oh, I'm wilting. It's like, forget it. My tomatoes crowded it. It got too close. And companion gardening says you can grow your tomatoes and your basil together. I did, and my tomatoes just took over. So my basil is like, and I didn't bring any basil, and I'm sorry. But I have fresh thyme, so we're gonna use fresh thyme.
We're using fresh thyme for this. And
we could have put the dill in those biscuits too.
Oh, the dill.
Dill.
Oh, and the chives. I saw your chives and we didn't add them.
It crossed my mind. We got to do it the way the recipe says the first time, right?
Yeah.
And then you can mess around with it.
You're right.
But you can have chives. If you like your biscuits, you can make more.
This soup
We can
is
sprinkle
supposed
the
to
chives.
be topped with chives. So we are going to do that for lunch today. I mean, there's no doubt. So we've got our thyme now. We're gonna simmer this just like that for 15 to 20 minutes. Then we're gonna run an immersion blender through this. And then we're gonna add our Brie cheese. We are gonna take the rind off of that just to make it easier for it to melt and not have chunks of rind in there. We're gonna add in some orange juice and some more of that whipped cream. You got it anyway for the biscuits. We might as well use it in here and make this nice and creamy. We're gonna stir this until the Brie is melted. We're gonna season it with some salt and pepper. I think towards the end, I might also throw some, just a tiny little bit of orange peel in there just to get a little bit of fresh, or orange zest in there, just to get some more freshness. And then when we're eating it, we are going to sprinkle it with chives.
Because we fancy.
And we are going to, like I said, we're going to eat it today because, I mean, obviously we are so excited about this. But we are also going to get some into the freezer in those super cubes. We are going to cool them first before we add them into the freezer. And then when they are fully frozen, we're going to transfer those cubes into freezer bags. Christy will take some with her. I will keep some for me. We both work from home. It's so nice to have soups that you can have for lunches. You can look forward to it when you're working in the morning and you're busy, and you can just be like, but for lunch. And now this time we can be like, but for lunch I get biscuits and soup.
I get biscuits
right?
and soup.
With
You had
some
me at
fresh
biscuits.
chives.
I'm excited about the soup, but I'm pretty excited about the biscuits.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. There's
Now-
a good chance, honestly, by the time we're done this video, because it says we're disjointed today. Through the magic of editing, it's going smoothly for you. It's very discombobulated here behind the scenes.
really is.
There is a chance that those will freeze and we'll be able to make them by the end of this video.
Oh, totally.
At the rate things
Yes.
are going. So you might just stick with us. You're going to probably see those at the end anyway.
And we are going to show you another soup. We're also going to show you some grab and go things and a lunch idea that is so simple. You'll be like, why didn't I think of this myself? So we're going to finish the soup and then we'll get to those. We made an executive decision that it would be best to try the soup right with you, like the live reaction. So I have chives. I'm going to cut them right on, just use some kitchen scissors, cut them right onto my bowl to make it fancy. Okay, so far, my impression is the texture is perfect. Thickness,
Thickness
Spot
is
on.
good. It smells good. When I was dishing it up, I noticed there was some stringy bits, so the brie is brieing. And there's still some chunky bits of brie, which I don't think is a bad thing.
no, I don't think so either.
That's pretty darn good.
That's good. You can still really taste the carrot.
You can
I
taste the
think-
brie,
The orange gives a bit of brightness.
but it isn't overpowering at all. We didn't put the orange zest in. I'm not a super fan of it. And so Charlotte's like, well, we can omit it and maybe we'll put some in hers. And
Okay, it gets better with the second bite.
it's so good.
That's really good.
I don't really think I would change anything. I might add some salt.
It has
'Cause it's just me,
the
but-
right amount of pepper. I wouldn't add salt for mine personally, but I know you
Yeah.
love your salt. This is a keeper. This is a winner. This is going in the club.
This will go in the club. Do you know what? You missed a chunk of carrot and I got it and it was lovely.
I got one too. I'm
And-
not patient with my immersion blender.
But I don't think,
I really wanted to just get to it.
yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Like it's soft and tender and everything. And yeah, the little chunks of brie,
It's really good.
it is really good.
Okay, you've witnessed this. We have another winner. And this is so perfect for fall, I can't even tell you. Like, this is just in time for fall. Oh, I love it.
Oh, this is good.
I'm really glad we doubled it
Me too.
because we're gonna end up with more.
Is it just a video of us going,
I didn't let the brie fully melt, which I had planned to, but I didn't. And I don't think it's a problem because what we did is we cubed the brie really quite small.
It's
So
hard to cube brie. It's such a soft cheese that it was sticky and
It's-
gooey.
I think if you were going to put it in whole or just, take the rind off and just plop it in, you would really have to wait for it all to melt.
Yeah, you would have trouble. I think it was the right move to cube it.
And then cubing it,
I'm gonna put a tiny bit of salt on before I finish.
so cubing it, I think, because we're freezing it, we're not going to end up with like big hunks in each, in the individual things because we
Yeah.
cubed it. And then it'll allow it on the day that we go to reheat it, it can still melt further. So that was kind of the reasoning behind that.
I think that's totally fine. I think it could do with, I just saw your red pepper flakes over there it could do it with a kick of cayenne. But then it would be too much like the curried butternut squash soup, or you know what I mean? It's
I
its
think
own
the
thing.
time
The
is
orange in this, now the orange is really settling in with me. It is perfect.
Yeah, I don't think we should do more orange or
Nope.
less. I think you could do the zest, but it's just good as it is. This is our like taste test. We've never done this. We've never taste tested really live like this.
We don't usually make food. We just prepare. We assemble freezer meals, right? Not gonna lie, I would like to have our biscuit with this. Just a little bun or a little biscuit, some crackers. That's just me.
That was perfect. Oh,
That was so good.
that was perfect.
I think we get a high five for that one because, like, I know that was really, really good. I again wish you had smell-o-vision because it smells good.
I wish you had taste-o-vision.
Taste-o-vision. Start throwing spoonfuls of soup at the screen.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is a yes.
It's a keeper. It's going in the club.
Okay, let's tell you about our next soup. This next soup is a curry lentil soup. I don't think this is gonna be Christy's favorite. I'm just calling it now because it has coconut milk in it. She's not a fan. So I have a little note on when I invented this recipe that says make without Christy. So when she was on vacation, I was planning to do a video where I made this soup for you and some bliss balls that also have coconut. Look, I was planning to do basically a coconut video.
Without me. Which is the perfect
Christy.
time to do it because I'll try the soup, I'm sure, but
Right. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be her thing, but it might be your thing. So for this curry lentil soup, in our stovetop pot, we're going to heat up some olive oil, and then we're going to add some diced onion, peeled and diced carrots, some diced red pepper, and let that, you know, cook down a little bit, and then we're going to add some minced garlic just from a jar, then some squeezy tube ginger, some curry powder and red pepper flakes, and cook that a little bit, stirring it. Then we're going to add some rinsed and drained lentils, some vegetable broth, some fire roasted tomatoes, coconut milk, and lime juice. Towards the end, we will add some salt and pepper as well. But we're going to let this come to a boil, and then we're going to simmer it for 20 minutes. We just want those lentils and vegetables to get really soft. Then we're gonna season it with that salt and pepper. And originally when I designed this recipe, it was just gonna stay like this. But as it's been cooking, Christy and I have been talking, and I decided that I wanna run an immersion blender through this one as well. I just think it doesn't look that appetizing the way it is, honestly. That's just my personal opinion. If you want to keep things chunky, you certainly can, but I'm going to run an immersion blender through this. Then we're going to allow it to cool before we transfer it into our super cubes. And then we've got two soups so far. And it just so happens they're both vegetarian soups, but I do think for this curry lentil one, I mean, the carrot Brie one does not need, like, it's just... keep it exactly as is. But for this one, if you wanted, after you run the immersion blender through it, if you want to do that, you could add some cooked chicken to this. And I think that would be really nice. Like some rotisserie chicken, just shred it up and just dump a little bit in there. I think that would be, kind of give you that Thai chicken coconut soup flavor, but you've got your lentil in there still, but it doesn't need the chicken because your lentil is a good protein. If you're one of those people that has to have meat in every recipe, then this is one that you could add chicken to. We love our quesadillas.
Yes, we do.
A lot of quesadilla recipes. We've got spinach and artichoke quesadillas and buffalo chicken quesadillas. We have sweet potato and black bean quesadillas, cheeseburger quesadillas, and today we are making black bean and corn quesadillas that I think are going to taste really good, but this is our first time making them.
I think they are going to be good. They remind me a lot of our black bean and corn enchilada.
Me too.
So I'm excited about it because the flavor, you know, is going to be there. And actually, I have a Southwest salad that is really similar to this. And when we were talking about this video and ideas for this video, I was going to send you my recipe for it because I'm like, I think even the avocado would freeze, but it's really similar to the quesadilla. So let's not do that. That did cross my mind. Maybe we'll try it another day. freezing a salad? It can't be, but we do have other salads.
Yes, we do. Okay, so for this, in a bowl, we're gonna mix either some frozen corn, or you can use kernel corn from a can and just drain it. Then we're gonna add in some rinsed and drained black beans, some diced purple onion and chopped cilantro, some minced garlic, and then we're gonna add our Tex-Mex cheese right in here, give this a stir, and then stir in some taco seasoning and stir that all around. And then we're just gonna put the entire mixture onto half of a flour tortilla. We're going to fold that over and put that on our baking sheet. Then we're going to take the baking sheet and put it in the freezer. We're just doing these in a single layer because what we want to do is we want to get these frozen before we transfer them to freezer bags so that they don't stick together. And it's really important that they're fully frozen before you do that. So I'm going to grab another baking sheet here.
Like that much or a little more?
Yeah, that much or a little more.
So 3 spoonfuls-ish?
Yeah, I mean, use your judgment. You could also do these with a smaller flour tortilla, and if you wanted, I really think these would be good as a breakfast quesadilla if you mixed in some scrambled eggs. And then when you served it, you could serve it with some hot sauce or salsa. I mean, either way, you could serve this with hot sauce or salsa.
Yeah,
but
you totally could.
I really think that that would taste, like that would be a really nice, fresh tasting breakfast quesadilla.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have been dying to make huevos rancheros into a freezer meal forever. And this is actually getting pretty close. There's no tomatoes happening here, but with a bit of salsa, and like it could happen.
Yeah, it totally could.
Yeah.
You know what I'm just realizing? Today is turning into meatless meals, and it wasn't an intention. Like when we planned this video, we totally didn't say, oh, let's do vegetarian or meatless recipes, but it's kind of turning out that way. We did have a plan that we were going to do
beef and bean
burritos, and we had cooked up the beef for them and everything. But they are getting put into another day. We're filming later this week, and so they are going to be in that video because
our day is getting away from us. We said that earlier.
Yeah, we said, you know, it's just kind of been discombobulated. Some days are like that, as I'm sure
it's life.
You have in your own life. It was sort of like, oh, I forgot to buy this, this, and this when I was planning for these, so after I dropped the little one at daycare, I stopped at the store and I got those things, and then we were making things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot to get garlic cloves, like full, because we always have the minced garlic in a jar. But when I saw garlic in the recipe, it didn't even occur to, like, I was just like, oh, of course I always have garlic. But I needed like fresh garlic. So anyway, I did find some and it was all good, but I had to send my husband a message at one point and be like, since you're at the store anyway, can you pick these things up?
Isn't that funny?
And then because we did the soups through the immersion blender and we have to wait for them to cool before we transfer them to super cubes, like all of it has just taken longer than we intended, and we're still not even done. We've got more recipes before we even get to that. So the beef and bean burritos are going to be in another video, and therefore this is probably going to end up being all meatless.
It's looking like it's going to be. I have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you? Okay, I've never done this. How do you feel about putting another layer of parchment paper on, and just double decorating?
I've started doing that when I do waffles because I just run out of trays.
You run out of trays, and it works.
Yeah,
So,
it totally works.
I'm going to do that. Bear with me a second because this is it's getting down to. It's very curly, and this box isn't in the greatest shape, so this might not be so elegant, so bear with me a second. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, you probably can't, but I have like this in 3 sections because she said something and I misunderstood, and so I'm like making smaller ones. I'm making it work, you know, as you do. Yeah, this will totally work.
Okay, while you do that, I'm going to go and check on, what do we have freezing flat? We've got the
biscuits.
Oh yes, we've got the biscuits. Okay, I'm gonna go check on the biscuits, and I'm gonna start I'm putting soup into super cubes because
It's time.
it's time.
Like 8 for this tray. Plus you made 4 already, so that's going to be 12 quesadillas.
Yep,
That's pretty good.
that's pretty good. And we've got a lot of soup because we doubled the one recipe.
Yes. Ooh, the carrot, orange, and brie.
Good thing we doubled it. So
That you're going to be like, this will be the next street chicken tacos. When is it going to be in the club? When is it going to be in the club?
It's true. Because we're going to talk about it like forever now.
Until it gets into the club. If those of you don't know, we have a Freezer Meals 101 club. It's our membership, and it gives you this access to this really great system for helping you make freezer meals, in that we have almost 400 recipes in it, and we add more all the time because we try new things like this. And in it, you can create your own meal plan, you can adjust your serving size to whatever you want, and then you can, with the click of a button, print out all the ingredients you need for that particular meal plan. And so from that meal plan, you can, at the click of a button, print out your ingredients list of everything that you need at the grocery store. And it also includes a prep list. So all of these things that are done ahead of time, like the chopping of the onions and shredding cheese and things like that, you know what to do. So on assembly day, you can just bam, throw it together and it will be done. So we love the club for that. We are always adding new recipes to that. Now, if you are in the Freezer Meals 101 club, there's a link down below. If you are in the club and you're like, why do things take so long to get from a video to the club? Well, as you can see, we taste test everything. We have not yet frozen that carrot, orange, and brie soup and put it through its paces, where we then thaw it, then we cook it, and then we eat it, and we decide, yes, it's still club worthy. We think it's probably going to work, so it'll be okay. There are some that just don't freeze that well. We're like, well, we tried and that didn't work out. So once they're approved by us, we send them to our food photographer, and she takes a picture of it and she sends it back to us. But she's got quite a backlog because we've been prolific. We've been busy. And then we add them into the club. I have like that much left over.
It's because there's only 3 on my sheet. So I think we should take some of that.
Oh, here I was trying to make it heavier. Yeah. So after all of that is done and it ends up in the club, then it goes into another queue and it eventually ends up on the main website. So we don't gatekeep our recipes from our people. It isn't, being in the club doesn't give you access to all of the recipes that you can get them on the club. I think there's a small handful that are going to be club exclusives.
But for the most part, it's just early access by like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But you're not paying for that part. You're paying for the system and the live cooking classes and the printable labels and all of the things.
I didn't even
that
tell
make
you about
it
the printable labels. Yes. So yeah, the street chicken tacos, and they are from a video that we did a long time ago. We can put a little link to that right there. And it was for Costco copycat recipes that we were trying. Can you believe it? Charlotte had gone to Costco. She looked at all of the different kinds of make-ahead meals that they have there and was like, I think we could make this, we can make this, could make this. The street chicken tacos have been the wildest hit out of it. And it is like just barely into the club. We did give our club members early access though, because it is in a PDF that we did in our cooking class that we do live with everybody. And so it was nice to be able to do that for them, because
we gave them a sneak peek of 5 of the recipes that were on their way to the club. We were able to give them access to it early. Plus, the cooking classes are hilarious and fun because they can ask questions and we can cook together and all that. Okay, the next thing we're gonna make is so simple.
So simple.
But you might not realize that you can freeze this. Now, this is grilled cheese. If you like grilled cheese, you're gonna love this idea. If you live on your own, or there's just 2 of you and you find that you can't go through your loaf of bread fast enough before it goes to waste, you're going to love this idea. And if you are a mom to many, you're gonna love this idea, because when my kids were younger, because I'm a mom of many, like, it's one of those things, it's so simple to make grilled cheese. Like, all you're doing is like butter, cheese, bread, like slapping it on.
It is, but it isn't.
But
It
if you're
takes a long
making
time for
many, then it's actually a problem. Like, you've got...
Sometimes you run out of counter space,
And your
like for real.
first child is asking for his second, and your seventh child hasn't had their first one yet. Like, it's, and you can do it on a big electric griddle, but you can't unless you have them all buttered and cheesed and ready. And it's hard to, you can't really get them ready all at the same time unless you do this. And that's the brilliance of this. Now, I do want to give you a caveat. Most of our freezer meals last 3 to 6 months in your freezer, at least, but they last and taste amazing for 3 to 6 months. These don't. I'm going to tell you right now that 2 months from now, I need you to have eaten these up, because there is a point with the grilled cheese where the bread, it just doesn't taste as good.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to end up with that problem. So I'm just giving you like a full heads up that you can be like, Charlotte said I had to eat these in the first 6 weeks or so, you know, by 2 months for sure. But I'm even telling you, like, eat them within 6 weeks. It's still gonna be great for you to stretch that bread that was maybe gonna go to waste. Now today, the reason we're doing these, because I actually bought bread to do these, is because I put in a grocery order. Christy and I were doing a video. We were doing, oh no, it wasn't for that. It was for my son's girlfriend's birthday party that we were hosting, and I was doing the honey mustard chicken burgers.
Right.
I put in an online grocery order. If you've watched our videos, you know there's a whole saga of I always get, things are always wrong in my online grocery orders. I had ordered jalapeno jack cheese slices so that we could put them on the chicken burgers.
Right.
And they gave me just plain Monterey Jack cheese.
Wah, wah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in our house, that's not gonna get eaten. Like, nobody wants that on a sandwich, nobody wants that on their chicken burger, but they will eat it in a grilled cheese, because grilled cheese and tomato soup flies off the shelves here.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter what kind of cheese is in it, really.
It's like a North American classic.
Yes. So we also have some cheddar cheese slices that I happen to have in the fridge, and so we're going to use those. We're going to use up these Monterey Jack that I am so anxious to get rid of, and that way those won't go to waste. And bonus, I get to show you how to freeze grilled cheese so that this can help you in the future too. Sort of funny story, this much sad, but mostly funny. I had a lot of baking sheets, because when you do what I do and make meals for this many people and do freezer meals and have to sometimes freeze things flat, you need extras of your cookie sheets. So I started with 6, then we had a few incidents here and there and ended up over the years with 4, and then had an incident with one of the 4, so then we had 3, which was not enough. I was starting to feel it, that I didn't have enough. And then last week, I asked my daughter if she would make this, we've got this Hawaiian chicken sheet pan meal. It's so delicious. I will put the link in the description of this video, because check that out. And great freezer meal, because it's like an all-in-one. Everything is there. If you want, you can make rice to serve with it, but other than that, your vegetables, there's even pineapples, there's fruit, and your chicken and your sauce and everything, it cooks on one baking sheet, and it's amazing. So my daughter put the parchment paper on. You cook the vegetables first, then you add, because there's 2 bags when you assemble this freezer meal, and then you add the bag with the chicken, and then you add the pineapple and stuff. So it is super simple, and you're just dumping it on there and throwing it in the oven. When she threw it in the oven the second time, after she had added the chicken, she said to my husband, like, I'm gonna go to my room, I'm actually not hungry, I've got some things to get finished. Can you listen for the timer and take this dinner out?
You already know where this is going.
There is a really funny part to this story, like a really funny part. So my husband was watching a movie with 2 of our sons, and he's in the living room, which is right like The oven is here and he's right around the corner. And as he's sitting there watching the movie, okay, so obviously the timer beeped and he missed it. Didn't occur to him, or he didn't think it was for him, or like, he forgot. Like, obviously that part you all knew was coming. But here's the part that's funny. As he's sitting there, he takes out his phone and starts searching for barbecues online, because he's been talking about for over a year getting a new barbecue. Ours is kind of on its last legs, and he's been talking about this for a long time, but it suddenly occurs to him that he really needs this barbecue. The reason is because he smells the burning chicken and it starts to smell like grill. And so subconsciously, he's like searching up a barbecue. And so when he went to get this, like the parchment paper's charred, the house smells like burnt everything, like burnt chicken mostly, but it's like burnt everything. Everything is black. It is like not, like there is nothing recoverable about this. It's been there for like 2 hours. It's just terrible. But he's like, well, it's okay because it had the parchment paper on it. I can probably salvage the baking sheet. Now, I'm experienced enough in the kitchen to know that there is nothing that is going to salvage this baking sheet, and that when he tries
it's at the point of no return
to take this parchment paper off, this is like, there is no way. But I'm like, okay, well,
knowing him, I can see the look on his face. I wasn't even here, but I can be like, Charlotte's not gonna like this.
I'm sure, like when I was like, okay, well, yeah, you know what, you clean it then, like. I'm like, I know that it's beyond the point of that, if you clean it, then that was just sort of my, okay, whatever. And I knew that as soon as he took that parchment paper off, he's going to realize, but he did try to salvage it. Christy saw it on the counter like 2 days later. Anyway, it's headed for the dump. There is nothing that you can do.
I came in and I saw it and I said, I think it's time, Charlotte. I think it is okay for you to give yourself permission to just go get more trays because you need them. And she said, I'm going to do it this Thursday. And did you do it? No.
No, I did. I was going to, it was in my list of errands, but I just didn't get that far.
Yeah.
So what we're using is we're using cutting boards because they're flat. And then we've got the parchment paper on top of the cutting boards.
Ooh, I have some terrible news. Not all of the soup fits in the super cube, so we might have to eat some more of it.
It's terrible.
Terrible. Terrible. Oh, and I'm doing the carrot, orange, and brie soup in the blue.
Okay.
And I am doing the other one.
The one that you don't want to try.
The coconut lentil curry. No, it's no curry.
It's curry.
It is curry?
Yep.
I don't even know what it is because I know I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to do that one in the pink.
Okay. We thought if we color coded them, because they are sort of similar colors, and we certainly wouldn't want to mix them up, then that would be a better idea.
And, sorry, you're doing your thing.
So what I'm doing is I am buttering. I've got my bread into, sandwiches, like 2 slices per, and they're all nicely together. And so I am just really just buttering the one side of the bread, and then I'm going to flip them over and butter all the other side of the bread. And then we're going to put probably 2 slices of cheese in each, because this is very thinly sliced cheese. If you were slicing your own, you could just slice it a little thicker. And normally I do slice my own for grilled cheese, but like I said, we had this bit of a grocery order snafu, and I don't want this Monterey Jack cheese that I paid for to go to waste. So it's going in these grilled cheeses. And off camera, what you didn't see, because we were getting the bread ready to lay out, is my daughter and one of her friends came into the kitchen and were like, is there anything we can eat?
And we're like, there's food everywhere, and we're like, no.
You're going to have to wait half an hour. But some of these are not going to make it to the freezer. Some of these are going to get cooked up fresh, so I'll just set those aside. And then, they won't have to fit on the parchment paper here. But I do find it's a lot faster to do like the one side of all of them and then, flip and do the other side of all of them. Silly enough, just those little tiny things can make things go so much faster.
So before I fill this other one, this is turning into a super cube commercial. But I'm going to come and show you. If you aren't familiar with these, they're like a really cool gadget. It's very, very good quality silicone, and inside they're graduated, so you can see that there's 250 mils, 125 mils. Other side, 1 cup, half cup, it says it right in there. And these, when they freeze, you just poke them and they pop right out, and they are pretty smart. There are knockoffs out there too, but we're using the real deal today, and they are great.
And actually, Michelle, who is the co-founder of Super Cubes with her husband, is in our Facebook group. So if you ever, we have a Freezer Meals 101 Facebook group. You can find the link for that below, of course, as well. And if you ever are wanting, like if you've got questions about how to use Super Cubes, because they are great for a lot of different things. And there's certain meals that you can actually cook up right in them and then store them that way, like little lasagnas and stuff. So they're great, especially for individual servings of freezer meals. So if you ever had a question specifically about Super Cubes, you could go in there and ask, and Michelle is great and would get back to you. So yeah, just a little added bonus there.
All right, there is a little bit left of the curry, the coconut one as well. I only filled up 6 blocks of the Super Cube, so there's enough here for us to try. So you can have a bowl, and I'll just do the chef thing where you take the clean spoon and you stick it in, and then you're like, that's fun. We were talking about it earlier off camera, but like, what do chefs do if they don't love everything? Like you have allergy. We could never be food critics, because somebody would like serve something to me with coconut and I'd have to be like, ugh. And you would be like, this has celery in it, I can't eat it. So right. It's
chefs have to have a very
tolerant
chef,
tastes.
A lot of chefs have to have a really, expansive palate and be willing to try pretty much anything.
Have you ever watched Anthony Bourdain go to Vienna, go to Austria, and eat tripe?
No.
It's not pretty, and it's delicious, but he spent summers in France, and I think Europeans eat a lot more of the animal than we do here. We do eat it, but it's in the form of hot dogs. And so he grew up eating like the escargot when it was like barely not moving anymore kind of thing. And it never bothered him. He would eat anything and he loved it. My brother and his wife went to France. She has French relatives, and they went and stayed with them, and they were in this old French farmhouse, and they had the escargot, but they had roasted it in a large roaster, and they were very well cooked. And my brother said that it was kind of neat, because they would put the spoon through it, and they were in the shell still, and they would just roll, and it smelled so good, and they would just all eat the snails.
Interesting.
I've had escargot many times, but not like that. But I also haven't had it the other way, where it's like barely cooked. But these look great. You're doing an awesome job.
No, it's not that hard to make grilled cheese, but I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to tell you what I do. I always take these and I put them that side down, and then like that. And then I put my cheese on all of them. And then I'm not doing these when I freeze them, right? I walk it over to my frying pan like this, and I put the butter side down with the cheese on it, and then...
Oh, I see. I couldn't figure it. I thought you were wanting the butter on the inside, and I was like, that is not how it goes.
I just never let the butter touch my cupboard.
I got it.
Yeah. But it takes up twice the space, because when I open up my sandwich, I do it, So I don't have 7 kids. I wasn't having to make them quite, but even when I was making them for like 4 of us in the family, it still takes up a lot of space and time. And I have never done this, and I think it's a great idea.
Like this would be great even if you're going camping or something like that, and you bring the bag, because of course we're going to transfer these into a freezer bag when they're fully frozen. And the butter isn't going to, it's not going to get on the other ones because it's frozen, right? So I think these are really handy to have. I haven't done it in years, because it's just, our kids are a little older now and they can make their own grilled cheese. But I did want to suggest, actually, oh, sorry. Just a minute. But I did want to suggest, actually, that, it is great to get your kids helping in the kitchen. Kids, spouse, cousin, neighbor, friend, whatever, and so this is something that even really young kids could help you, assemble your grilled cheese here. They're also more likely to eat things if they've had a hand in making them. So yeah, I think this would be a great one to start getting those little hands in the kitchen. Just pull up a stool and let them, choose which cheese they want to have on it or whatever. It's always nice if you give them those choices too. So I know it's not always practical, but if you've got multiple, like today so my kids would probably choose to have like one slice of the cheddar and one slice of the Monterey Jack, or, that kind of thing. I don't have to make you watch me make like dozens and dozens of grilled cheese here, but I do want to tell you that I do end up with the little ends of the bread. The heels is what they're called. And some people are fine with making their grilled cheese with that. My family would revolt, and that just means
I always eat them. But I make them backwards so that the bread part still gets the butter, and it's the outside of the heel that gets the cheese. And I'll do it. I'll follow my sword.
And I'm not as nice as Christy, apparently. So
my brother, he said if my kids don't eat the heel, I save the heels and freeze them, and then we have a loaf of bread of just heels, and they get over it real quick. I'm like, oh, I'm nicer than him.
Yes, you are nicer than both of us. So what I do with my heels is I will save them, and you can put a bag of, bread cubes or bread heels or whatever in your freezer, and then you can make Christy's famous bread pudding with it.
I do that with them too sometimes.
Or what I'm probably going to do with these ones is our French toast casserole. So our French toast recipe is really good, our freezer French toast recipe. Our mixed berry French toast casserole is really good. But we have this just French toast casserole, just kind of plain Jane.
It sounds boring, but it is not.
And it's really growing on me.
It's my number one breakfast right now for when I have a house full of teenagers, or the kids have a sleepover or something. I'll make that. Absolutely.
And it calls for coffee creamer, just a little bit of it.
Like the flavored stuff?
The flavored stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you can change up the flavor. And when I was in the States earlier in the summer, I came across Cinnabon coffee creamer.
Did you buy it?
No, because I didn't have a cooler with me, so I didn't. But I thought that would taste like a killer with that recipe.
Yeah, it would.
That would just be absolutely perfect. But we've done it with hazelnut or vanilla or any of those kind of flavors. There's so many flavors. I think there's an Irish cream.
There's an Irish cream.
And so you can change it up really easily too, but it is such a good recipe. And so these particular heels are likely getting saved for the French toast casserole recipe, and I'll have to make that later this week.
Do this one first.
Oh, I missed one. I missed one. Thank you for catching that.
I threw you off because I was messing with that one. I was showing you my system. Yes, do that. Make the French toast casserole and have it. Oh, the heels at my house often get turned into croutons or breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. Or stuffing, right? I can help you. I can help you instead of just standing here.
Hold open my sandwiches. So we're on to our cheddar cheese now. And like I said, you could mix, you could do one slice of the cheddar and one of the Monterey Jack, or whatever. You could, if they had given me the proper cheese and I had any left, you could totally do this with a jalapeno jack and it would be delicious. You could do this with any kind of cheese that you like in your grilled cheese. You could even do it with Brie, because actually my favorite grilled cheese is Brie and avocado.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
And Brie avocado and bacon isn't half bad either.
Yes, we're moving past grilled cheese and into proper, this is fantastic sandwich territory. When I was in Banff recently, I had a grilled cheese eggs Benedict. And
You sent me a picture of
I
it.
sent you a picture of it. It was at a restaurant called Brazen, Brazen. So you could look it up and look up their menu. You're done. That was
I have to make one more.
Let's just do one more. Yeah.
Because I have 2 more slices of cheese and we cannot let them be lonely.
No. So we were at Brazen.
Oh, and I'll just put it on a plate.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then my daughter can
Totally.
make herself a grilled cheese.
I love it. And so you can look it up. And I don't remember what kind of cheese was in it, but it was very strong tasting. So it was the eggs Benedict it was a weird kind of, what you call it? I don't know. A weird kind of hollandaise sauce. It was a bit orange.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know from the photo.
Yeah, but it looked a little. No, I did the thing. Sorry, I was on autopilot. Put the cheese there, and then you can put that on her plate, and you won't get butter on the plate.
Okay, got it.
Sorry, I was on autopilot with that one.
All good. Okay.
But the cheese ended up overpowering the dish so totally that it was like not as exciting as it would have been if they had just used hollandaise or had just used like a Monterey Jack or a cheddar, honestly.
Sometimes you don't want to mess with perfection. Like eggs Benedict is pretty darn good on its own.
But there's a million kinds of eggs Benedict.
True.
Yeah.
Well, as discombobulated as this was, we ended up with a lot of really handy things.
Oh, yeah.
And not really on purpose, but a lot of them are more like
Individual servings.
lunchy.
Very lunchy.
And I especially like, it feels to me like fall weekend lunchy because we've got our biscuits and our soup, and you could even do like soup with your grilled cheese, which, believe it or not, we did not plan that.
No,
It
no,
just
the
is.
soup has been in the works for a long time. The grilled cheese was kind of a whim
Because of the cheese issue.
because you had a cheese issue.
And you could even do soup with the quesadillas. So
You really could.
You've got your, full meal with all your veggies and everything, no matter what combination you decide to go with.
You could just straight up eat your biscuits with jam or honey.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I have some cinnamon honey.
Cup of tea.
Yeah. See? Didn't we just make your like Saturday afternoon better? Your Sunday afternoon if you're watching this on a Sunday.
I'm really like that soup was amazing. I'm really excited to try the other one, and I'm excited to see if the carrot orange brie soup freezes, thaws,
Oh, yeah.
and reheats well.
I think it's really going to do the thing.
Me too.
Yeah, it'll be
that-
great. And probably the curry soup as well.
Yes.
Honestly, it will. Yeah,
makes
it all
me-
freezes well.
Excited for you because you're going to be able to try these. And I think that these black bean, corn quesadillas are going to be especially great for like, a survivor night
Oh,
or
yeah.
like a movie night or, whatever you watch with your family and you'd like to have some appetizers or like to sort of. That's the one night where we'll do like eating in front of the TV. We don't tend to do that, but if it's like an appetizer night or a nachos night, then we totally do that. And I'm just thinking ahead and thinking, oh, that would be just kind of perfect.
That would be really, really nice. Any of these. And I'm not saying that you should serve these to company, but I have had company come over before and kind of last minute or I've had corn and we have a really great corn chowder and I had that ready to go and I'm like, okay, well, I can take out a second bag of corn chowder or I could take out a few more cubes of the super cubes and then I could make a batch of biscuits real easy. But now I don't even have to think that hard because you can cook these pretty much from frozen, which I am so excited to try these out. And so all of that really.
We are definitely going to test your biscuit recipe.
We'll test my
with
biscuit
the
recipe
freezer.
for sure.
And we will get back to you in future videos because I really think it's worth it because that's your tried and true. And if we knew that it froze and we could always have it in our freezers ready to bake up, like, oh, that would be, and then it would go with all of our soups.
Yeah. Yes.
And when you were saying about the super cubes, I forgot to mention that earlier, is one of the great things about them is, and honestly, this is not a paid commercial. Like we, they did not even gift us the super cubes. We bought those ourselves, but they really have been quite handy. A few months back, we tried a sauerkraut soup.
Had it for supper last night.
Right?
Yes, and I just took out one block because a cup of it was like a lot. It was more than enough.
And it's hearty because it's got the sausage in it.
And I had a few saltines with it, and that was my supper last night. And I had grapes. But yeah.
But you can take out, because once you pop the cubes out and put them into a large freezer bag, you can take out one if it's just one of you eating, or if you're feeding a lot of people, you can actually just like grab 4 out of your bag, and then you've got 4 cups that you can heat up on the stovetop or whatever. And so it's kind of nice because it doesn't limit you either.
No, they are really great. So if you don't have anything like this, go ahead and check out our Amazon store. The link is in the description below.
Thank you so much for being here. Even though it was discombobulated, it was delicious.
Hopefully by the time you actually see this, it will flow, because Charla is a great editor and it will all come together.
And you won't see us being like, oh, oops, I forgot this. Oh, wait, we should have done that in this order. And oh, let's run an immersion blender through that soup because I don't like the look of it. Like,
right?
That's kind of been like how today has
That
gone.
is how, oh, what? We don't have red pepper processed? Okay, I'll just chop her. We didn't have our prep. We didn't, there's lots of reasons behind it. You don't need to know all that, but we're glad that you could join us today.
And don't be like us. Do your prep the day before. And then when you assemble, everything will just come together quickly and you can assemble these in like no time at all. Thank you again. We really appreciate you watching, and happy cooking.
Bye.